It is time for MMA Weigh-in for UFC 229 from Las Vegas, Nevada, Saturday, October 6th, 10 p.m. Eastern start for the main card, headlined by Khabib versus Conor McGregor, a good one. And we got one of the best in the business. Matt Holt used to be vice president at CG Technology, now president of US Integrity, knows as much, if not more, than anybody in the business on UFC betting. Without further ado, Matt Holt, welcome into the show, bud.
Hey, Drew, how's it going? Look, what an electric weekend it is here in Vegas. Opening night of the Western Conference champion Las Vegas the Vegas Golden Knights last night. Yeah. Kind of a stinker of a game as we got whipped 5-2. But you go from opening night for the Golden Knights to a huge fight this weekend into G2E, where they expect up to 500,000 people to be in town next week. Vegas is electric.
Yeah, and you can just feel the buzz, huh, in the city?
Oh, absolutely. It's just awesome.
Good, man. Well, hey, I know a lot of the watchers have been asking us on Twitter, Facebook, want your picks for the show, so let's not bury the lead. Let's get right into it. We got Khabib, the Russian, versus Conor McGregor, the Irishman. Looks like we're seeing, about -170, some shops at -180 for Khabib, so a pretty heavy favorite here. The 155 lightweight heavyweight championship here. And Conor McGregor, +150, a total of 2.5. Any analysis? Well, of course you have analysis on this, Matt. Do you have a strong pick for the main event?
I do, but I'll tell you what's interesting on the money line on this fight here is a lot of sharps I know kept telling everybody, hey, wait until fight night, wait until Friday. You know, you're going to be able to get the best possible line on Khabib because all the Conor fans will be in town. And I can tell you at the press conference, it was 95% Conor fans. I mean, this is a McGregor city this weekend, yet this line's going up. So I'm not so sure that all those sharps saying, hey, wait until fight night or wait until Friday, you'll be able to lay pick with Khabib are really going to reign true here, because you could have laid $1.45 or $1.50 as early as Monday. Now you're laying $1.70 with Khabib. So I know there's going to be plenty of Conor fans, but I'm not sure this thing ever gets back below $1.50.
That makes sense. I mean, and why would that be? Just a lot of the big money being on Khabib, even though a lot of the tickets might be written on Conor McGregor. That's pretty much the main reason.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the reason. And the books know, they're aware of this too. They understand that the fans are going to be on Conor, but the sharps have made it known throughout that they're going to come in on Khabib in this fight. So if you're the books, why are you going to lower the line anymore? You know where the big bets are coming on. They're coming on the favorite on Khabib here. So I think at this point, seeing anything less than -150 is probably not going to happen. What I do like in this fight is the over 2.5 rounds at +125. And I guess that sort of shows where I lean in the fight. I lean toward Khabib Nurmagomedov in this fight to beat Conor McGregor. And thus, I also think it's a correlated parlay where I think the fight will go over 2.5 rounds. 6 of Khabib's last 7 fights have at least gone into the 3rd round. Even when he won a submission versus Michael Johnson, it went into the 3rd round. Khabib doesn't have the punching power to knock people out early, and his submission game isn't so good that he tends to wrap people up early. He's kind of a ground and pound, wear you down wrestler who, as you start to get more and more tired, you become more and more vulnerable for his submissions. A perfect example of how this fight could go for Conor McGregor, look back at the Chad Mendes fight. Chad Mendes took Conor McGregor down at ease for the first couple of rounds. Grounded, pounded it, beat him up a bit. Conor hung in there. Conor's a tough kid. People don't realize it. He has a pretty good chin. He hung in there for a while. Finally, Chad Mendes got tired, and Conor was able to put Mendes away. I'm not sure that Khabib's going to fatigue in this fight. Mendes took that fight on like a week and a half notice. Khabib not likely to fatigue, but Khabib's also not likely to put Conor away quickly. Plus money on the over 2.5, +105. And when Conor's in tough fights against really scary guys, Max Holloway went the distance. Nate Diaz the second time, Conor went the distance with him. So Conor has a history of going the distance with really scary opponents. Khabib tends to never put anybody away early anyway. I think they're overvaluing the fact that Conor has had so many early knockouts in his career. Unless you really love Conor, buy first round knockout in this fight. Every other example of how this fight's going to go points toward it at least making it into the third round, maybe the fourth or fifth. So at plus money over 2.5 in a 5-round title fight, I think it's a bargain. I'm taking the over.
In Matt, from an odds maker's perspective, why not make this total 3 if you're putting, plus money on the over 2.5? Is it just for the reason that Conor McGregor has so many first round knockouts, or that's how he, he kind of is publicized as winning in the first round by knockouts? So they're expecting a lot of tickets written on that, or is there another reason to keep this at 2.5 instead of going to 3?
I don't know. I'll tell you what, I think sometimes the bookmakers get into too much of a habit in football season. It's football season. We're totally focused on NFL. We know there's a huge fight coming up. Hey, what are the total on MMA fights? Oh, it's always 2.5, but this is a 5-round fight. I feel like they just use 2.5 blindly at the beginning. And once you put a number up, a lot of times they just stick with it and change the money line associated with that spread. So I feel like once they hung a 2.5, they got stuck using the 2.5. And so many people want to bet Conor by knockout or have a misconception here that if, oh my goodness, if Khabib gets Conor down, it's going to be over right away. Khabib isn't a quick finisher with submissions on the ground. He's a wear you down grinder on the ground. And I think a lot of people are taking that for granted. 6 of the last 7 fights for Khabib Nurmagomedov have gone to the third round. I'm betting this one does too, and I'm getting plus money to do it.
Good stuff, Matt. Love the breakdown. We got Ryan, Ray, Rude in the Rude Boy in the chat box. What's up, guys? Let us know what you want to hear. And if you're liking the content for this, please give us the thumbs up sign. We're going to hit on the whole main card here, and then Matt's going to throw out pretty much his full betting card for the prelims as well. So it sounds like liking the over in this, Matt, as far as a official bet over 2.5.
Yeah, I got a full unit over 2.5 plus 105.
Okay.
And
plus
I think if you look
around.
Yeah, so one of my friends, Noah Akers, pointed out to me, a really sharp guy when it comes to looking at some value spots on MMA. If you look around town at some of these places that are putting up props on the fight, if you go along with my analysis that the fight's going to go into the third round or later, some of these, Conor in the third or Conor in the fourth or Khabib in the fourth, are as high as 30, 40, 50 to 1. So if you also like the over, it might be worth sprinkling a little bit of money on some of these props. Khabib in the fourth round at maybe a huge payday.
Yeah, not a bad idea to kind of go for the huge payday, like you say, Matt. And just real quick before we go down to the next fight, this huge Conor McGregor fight in football season, I guess on a Saturday night, so there will be college football games also with the Sunday NFL card the next day. What do you see the total handle in this fight compared to maybe most big UFC fights?
I think the actual college football being on actually helps it because it helps college football as well because people are already in the book. So you're going to have guys in the book who may not have intended to bet the fight. They're just in there to watch football, but there's going to be such a buzz about people talking about the fight. All of a sudden, oh man, I'm here. I'm in the book. I got to have a little action on the fight too. I think this fight's going to do in the 25 to $35 million range in Vegas.
Interesting. Okay, I wouldn't have thought that at first, that they would actually help each other. And even college football, it would help them too on Saturday night, the tickets written?
Because again, guys coming in to bet the fight, they're going to come in, bet the fight before they go wherever they do go to watch it. But now there's this lull time before the fight starts. And if you're in a sports book, what's on all the TVs waiting for the fight? College football. These guys are going to be too tempted. There'll be more bets made on college football. It kind of goes hand in hand. Look, more people in the sports books where everyone's betting tend to make you want to bet.
Yeah, absolutely. No, good stuff from the other side of the counter there with Matt Holt. We got Tony Ferguson versus Anthony Pettis. Looks like Pettis plus 270, mostly in the marketplace, and Ferguson the heavy favorite at minus 130. This is another 155-pound bout. Matt, how do you see this one going?
This is a really hard fight for me. Look, I love Tony Ferguson as much as every diehard MMA fan does, but he's 34 years old now, and he's only had one fight since November of 2016. That was a fight against Kevin Lee, a fight that I thought he was going to lose if not for the fact that Kevin Lee had that staph infection, which caused him to fatigue badly, and then Ferguson caught him in that submission. But Kevin Lee was winning that fight. Ferguson's just too inactive for me, and not just inactive, but he has all these fluke injuries that require surgeries and major rehabilitation. Tore his ACL tripping over a media cord, and I mean, he's had a lot of problems, and at his age, I just don't know. Look, I like Tony Ferguson in this fight. I see how he could get the job done. The problem is, do I want to lay minus 400? No, not particularly. Although on the other side, we talk about when you bet big underdogs, what's the path to victory? I don't know that I see a clear path to victory for Anthony Showtime Pettis in this fight. Thus, I just had to pass.
Okay, passing on that one. What about moving down the card here? We got St. Preux versus Dominic Reyes. Looks like St. Preux almost a plus $2 underdog here, seeing mostly plus 190s and plus 195s right now. Light heavyweight bout, and it looks like Dominic Reyes minus 230 favorite. How do you see this one going, Matt?
This feels like a little bit too soon, too much too soon here for Dominic Reyes. A perfect example, Francis Ngannou tore up the heavyweight scene when he came on the scene for UFC, just blasting out heavyweights, knocked out Alistair Overeem. They rushed him into a title fight against Stipe Miocic, and he got absolutely dominated against Stipe. That could be the case here. The light heavyweight division's a little bit in shambles. Their champion, Daniel Cormier, went up to heavyweight. He's 40 years old. John Jones has been suspended all the time. Alexander Gustafsson's been out. Glover Teixeira is almost 40. This is a division where, again, because it's shallow, there's not a lot of guys. Guys are getting old. It looks like maybe the UFC is rushing Dominic Reyes up because they need fresh contenders. I'm not sure this is the best opponent for him, though. Ovin St. Preux, 4-1 in his last 5, and let's look at the resume. This is a guy who fought John Jones, the greatest light heavyweight ever. He fought Glover Teixeira. He has been in there with everybody, Ovin St. Preux. And you could say he's fighting the best in his career that he's fought the last 5 fights, 4-1 in those fights with some really impressive wins. Look, on the other side, Dominic Reyes, 3-0 in the UFC, and his best wins over Jared Cannonier, who at best might have reached 15th best in the world. You look at the top-ranked 15 list in the light heavyweight division, and Ovin St. Preux has fought almost every single one of them. Jimmy Manua and then Zoltan Uzdemir. He's fought every single one of them, St. Preux. That experience is going to carry the day here, and I'm going to take the plus 190 for a full unit with Ovin St. Preux.
Liking plus 190, and actually we got Jason Spurlock chiming in the chat box. Appreciate this, Jason, saying plus 210 is out there right now. And guys, that's a great reminder to use SBR odds to shop around for the best line at a certain sports book. Put the most money in your pocket if you're able to cash the ticket. So thanks for that, Jason. And so yeah, you can get it at over plus $2 right now on St. Preux. Moving down the card here, Matt, we got Derek Lewis versus Alexander Volkov. Heavyweight battle. Looks like plus 150 for Lewis, minus 169 I'm seeing right now for Alexander. How do you see this heavyweight matchup going?
Look, I'm huge fans of both of these heavyweights, and I actually think the winner of this is probably going to get the next shot at a heavyweight title after Daniel Cormier finally fights Brock Lesnar in January or whenever they fight. I think the winner of this is primely positioned to either fight for the title next or at least fight Stipe Miocic to see who that next title contender is going to be. Look, my analysis on this fight is really simple. Derek Lewis came out of a really boring win against Francis Ngannou in his last fight. And now all of a sudden, a guy who normally every single one of Derek Lewis's fights the total was always 1.5 under minus some huge amount of money. The guy comes off one decision win against Francis Ngannou in what certainly wasn't the most exciting fight ever. And now we're seeing a 2.5 on a heavyweight fight. The analysis on this fight is simple. Derek Lewis has 20 wins. 17 of them are by knockout. Alexander Volkov has 30 wins, 20 of them are by knockout. So the two fighters here combined have 50 wins, 37 of them by knockout, and yet we're basically minus 125 on the under 2.5 rounds. I went ahead and played this one under, figuring someone's going to get knocked out, like the statistics say normally happens when these two fight.
All right, under the and you can get that 2.5 rounds minus 125 on the under, Matt.
Yeah, that's what I played it at.
Okay, good stuff, man. And then last one here on the main card, and then we'll get to some of the prelims if you got any. Michelle Waterson versus Felice Herrig. Looks like Herrig minus 115, Waterson minus 105. That's what I'm seeing, but pretty much a pick'em fight here in the ladies' match of the main card. How do you like this one?
Really hard fight, really even on paper. I think when a fight's this even, there's probably some inherent value on the underdog. I made a small half-unit play on Michelle Waterson here, and no, it's not because I love her nickname, the Karate Hottie. It's because I think these two are dead even. Look, I mean, they both lost to Tisha Torres. And the only two losses in the last 5 fights for Waterson since joining the UFC are to Tisha Torres and current champion Rose Namajunas. Both of these fighters have a lot in common. They tend to win fights they're supposed to, and they tend to lose every time they step up. That's been the case for Felice Herrig, who lost to Carolina Kowalkiewicz, Paige Van Zandt, Tisha Torres, and former champion Carla Esparza. Same thing with Michelle Waterson. She lost to Tisha Torres as well, and current champion Rose Namajunas. I think these two are actually really even. I think Herrig's recent form against lesser opponents probably you could say gives her a slight edge here, but Waterson is a little bit younger. Herrig's 34 years old now. I made a small half-unit play on the underdog because I think it's a pick'em fight, and when you get plus 130 in a pick'em, you're getting some value at least.
All right, great stuff, Matt. And what else do you want to throw out as far as bets that you've made on the Saturday night UFC 229 card?
I have 2 other bets on this card. One of them, Sergio Pettis, minus 140 over Jussier da Silva. Sergio Pettis, 5-1 in his last 6 fights, with the only loss coming to current flyweight champion Henry Cejudo. Look, Sergio Pettis is still only 25 years old, despite all the fights he's had. 20 fights, almost all of them in the UFC, but he's still only 25. When he came in with so much hype as the younger brother of then lightweight champion Anthony Showtime Pettis, people expected the world of Sergio, but he was only 20 years old. It took him a little bit to mature physically, mature from a technique standpoint. We've seen that maturation. Now at 25, I think you can make a case that he's the 3rd best flyweight in the world behind current champion Cejudo and longtime pound-for-pound king Demetrius Johnson. Pettis is probably right there. Jussier da Silva is one of those guys, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specialist that tends to get outstruck, tends to lose bigger fights. 21 wins, 0 knockouts by Jussier da Silva. I think Sergio Pettis is going to use his defensive wrestling here to keep the fight standing and just simply outwork da Silva. Minus 140 feels like a bargain. I went ahead and laid a full unit on that one. My last pick of the fight, too, Ryan LaFleur. Minus 130 against Tony Martin. This fight opened minus 200 on LaFleur, and a lot of sharp money, wise guy money came in on Tony Martin. Drove this number all the way down to minus 130 on LaFleur. Look, maybe minus 200 was a little bit too high on LaFleur, but these two are really similar, and LaFleur's resume is a lot better here than Tony Martin. This is a guy who owns a win over Santiago Ponzinibbio, a top 7 ranked welterweight in the world, coming off a win over Alex Garcia. Tony Martin, again, is one of those guys, 0 knockouts on his resume. He out-wrestles and out-grinds opponents. But Ryan LaFleur is going to be the best wrestler he ever fought here. Look, I know LaFleur is getting a little older. Maybe minus 200 is a little bit too much, but this thing dropped so much that I actually think there's value on the favorite now, and I went ahead and laid a full unit on Ryan LaFleur.
Okay, so you got LaFleur, full unit, minus 200, Sergio Pettis, minus 140.
130.
Oh, yeah, on Sergio Pettis?
On LaFleur. No, on LaFleur. He opened minus 200, but he's all the way down to minus 130.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for clearing that, Matt. And yeah, we'll go through and go over your finalized bets, but we do have a couple questions here from the chat box. Can I ask Matt? Yes, I will. George, thanks for chiming in. If Khabib versus McGregor fight goes to decision or stoppage, I guess he's asking, like, who do you think that would favor? Would the judges kind of favor Conor McGregor with all the publicity, or how do you think that would go?
if this fight goes the distance, there's a very good chance it's because Khabib Nurmagomedov has held Conor down for so many rounds. And it doesn't matter how popular Conor is. If it goes the distance, it's going to be because Conor's on his back and Khabib's on top. I don't think Conor wins the decision here.
Okay, and it's they pretty much always give it to the guy on top, huh? It would never be like Conor got a couple big shots in, but the riding time went to Khabib. They still give it to Conor, or it would always go to Khabib.
Well, I mean, maybe if Conor landed some knockdowns and stuff, but again, Conor's such a good finisher. If he stuns Khabib, this is why it's different from boxing, and it's what people don't understand sometimes. If the guy who's losing the fight in boxing catches the other guy and knocks him down, that guy has 10 seconds to get back up, and then a lot of times the favorite gets back in it. Here, if Conor hurts Khabib and he's stumbling and on rubber legs and going down, Conor will finish him. So it's not a matter of, oh, if Conor hurts him, he could pile up some points. If Conor hurts him, he'll finish him. If Khabib, holds him down and Conor never hurts him, that's where you get the grind out decision.
Man, just hearing you talk about it gets me excited for tomorrow night, Matty. But yeah, do you mind going down the list and just kind of summarizing for the watchers what your bets are?
Sure. I have a unit on Conor versus Khabib over 2.5 rounds plus 105. And then I went down, I passed on Tony Ferguson. I bet plus 190. I know there's some better numbers out there even than what I got, but I bet Ovin St. Peru for a full unit at plus 190 versus Dominic Reyes. I bet Alexander Volkov and Derek Lewis under 2.5 rounds at minus 125. I have a half unit on Michelle Watterson plus 130, and then a full unit on Anthony Pettis minus 140. And a full unit on Ryan LaFleur minus 130.
Awesome stuff, Matt. Anything else you want to throw out before we shut this down?
No, the only bummer for me this weekend is this was supposed to be the return of undefeated prospect Sugar Shane O'Malley, who was actually going to be the feature on the prelims. He ended up popping positive on a USADA drug test, and unfortunately, the return of Sugar Shane has been delayed.
All right. I got to give some love to Ermi in the chat box. He says, if Khabib wins, do you think it's by submission or TKO, in your opinion?
I think it's by submission because Conor is fatigued and he's able to choke Conor out, or it's by decision. I don't think Khabib is knocking out Conor.
All right. Good stuff, Matt. Thanks for coming on. And guys, go give Matt a follow on Twitter at Matthew Holt VP. Great follow, especially Saturdays and for the fight. So make sure to follow him on Twitter. He's the president of US Integrity. Thank you, Matt. Thanks, guys, for watching, and best of luck with your bets this weekend.
Thanks, Drew. Best of luck this weekend, guys.